Everyone, welcome to another Mix Tips video. So we're going to be looking at resonances today. I've got a session which has been sent to me during this lockdown period. In fact, a few sessions from this artist to mix, and they've recorded all this at their home studio. Now, when listening back to the track, the first thing I noticed was there's some resonant frequencies on some of the clean guitar recordings at the start. So we're going to look at how to remove resonances, or how I would go about removing resonances, and show you guys what they are. So if you imagine yourself holding a glass that's half full of water, and then you dip your finger in the water and then circle around the lip of the glass at the top, and it starts to make the glass resonate. That is pretty much what a resonant frequency sounds like. It's just a continuous pitch or a continuous hum that's prevalent in a recording. And this can be from playing a chord that has resonances in, or it could be down to the recording's not great, and there's just a couple of things happening which are causing it to creep in. But when you're listening back to a track, all it looks like on an EQ is a narrow band of frequencies that seem to be louder than everything else, but they're very continuous and very consistent with that loudness, despite everything else around them changing. So for a good example, I'm going to play you this guitar here. And you should be able to see on the EQ graph and hear the resonance that's going on. And when it kicks into the chords, you'll notice it a bit more. But if you haven't spotted it already, it's right here. Keep an eye on this frequency range here. Now, sometimes it's quite hard to hear resonant frequencies, especially if you're not used to listening out for them. But for me, I could hear that before I could see it, but you can quite clearly see there's a resonance happening here. And if I was to create a band just to solo this section, you can quite clearly hear it. Now, when it comes to hunting for resonant frequencies, excuse me, what I would advise doing. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I'm using FabFilter Pro Q3 because this is my go-to EQ for when it comes to doing any cleaning up or surgical stuff. It's just an amazing EQ, really simple to use, really intuitive, and it's got things like dynamic EQ, and it's also got auto gain makeup function. So when you're making cuts or boosts, the output is always consistent, so you know if you're making a good choice or a bad choice, so you don't get confused by any differences in loudness. Going back to what we was talking about now. What I tend to do is create a band, and then I'll boost the band and make it really narrow. And then because Pro Q3's got this really cool solo function, so you can hear this band of frequencies, I'll click on that and just move it around the recording until something really, really jumps out, like really jumps out. So there we go. That is the resonant frequency, around 776 to 780. And then what I will tend to do is make the Q wider. Like this. And then make a cut. And I'll listen to the music while making a cut, because I don't want to just pull it all the way down and get rid of it totally, because it might take away some of the tone or something because of the type of band that we're using. So we'll do it gradually until we can't hear that horrible, annoying resonance. That's quite a stubborn one, actually. So we're going to have to get quite aggressive with this. Now, a little tip. If you make your cut until you can't hear it, make the Q very narrow. What I also tend to do sometimes is gradually make the Q wider until I can't hear the resonance entirely, and also listen out for the other frequencies around it to see how much they're being affected, to try and find a sweet spot. About there, I would probably use if I was just using a normal bell curve. Now, with FabFilter, there is an amazing curve for getting rid of resonant frequencies, and it's called a notch. Now, not a lot of EQs have notch filters on, but these are extremely narrow, very precise, and they allow you to really eliminate any resonances without affecting too much the stuff around. So this is a good one to use as well. So like that, we can just eliminate that frequency. Now, if I was to bypass this now, and you'll suddenly hear that annoying resonance if you haven't been able to quite hear it already. So it's bypassed, enabled. Now, with some recordings, going back to what I was saying, you find that sometimes resonant frequencies pop up intermittently. They might just pop up on a specific chord that's being played. And with those kinds of things, it's always a good idea to automate when the EQ notch is happening. It's not a good idea to have it continuously on throughout the duration of the track, because that particular notch you make might take away from the characteristic of some of the other chords that don't have any resonances on. So a good thing to do would be to automate when this is being enabled or when it's being bypassed, which you can do in Cubase quite easily. If you select the track, excuse me, click on the down arrow to show hide automation, click on the volume lane, and then go to more, go to inserts, and you'll see that FabFilter Pro Q3 is listed. And if we expand that, we'll see all of the automation controls that we have for every single band, which is a maximum of 24 bands in Pro Q. And we'll also have control over things like the output, auto gain, etc., etc. So you can just set it up by clicking on whatever it is you want to automate and then drawing in the data on the automation lane. Now, if you're not sure what a band or EQ bands, well, let me rephrase that. If you're not sure what number band the EQ is that you want to automate, it's quite easy to check. So see, obviously we have 24 here. If you open up Pro Q3, click on the band that you want to automate, and you'll see down here there's a little number corresponding to that band. So you'll know that's band 1. If I create another one, you know that's band 2. So when you set up any automation, you know which bands to select. Now, if you find that you've made a cut and it's taken away something from the character, you can always try and reclaim a little bit by making just a small boost like this over where you've made the cut. You might find that helps sometimes, get some of the character back. You don't want to be too extreme with it, but it does help. Okay, so it's helped a little bit out, helped warm it back up a little bit. But again, the great thing about this EQ that I really love, though, is the auto gain function, because it makes life so much easier, especially when you're doing surgical stuff and you're trying to remove things and you want to make sure that you're not being tricked by volume changes. Pro Q3 is the best for this, in my opinion, absolute best. So there we go. We've taken a look at a resonant frequency. We've done the old boost and hunt for it, although we can clearly see where that resonant frequency was in the frequency band. And then we've used a notch cut to get rid of it entirely, and then try to warm up some of the frequencies around it just to disguise that cut a little bit more. So hopefully you found this useful. If you have any questions, obviously leave them in the comments box below. The next few videos are coming up. Oh, excuse me, really exciting. I'm doing another plugin review. We're going to be taking a look at an awesome new delay plugin by Baby Audio. I've been spending a lot of time with it and getting to grips with it and getting used to the flavor. And I've got to tell you, it's a really awesome sounding plugin. I'm really excited to do a review on it. And then there's going to be some more Cubase tips. And yes, I know we haven't done a follow-up yet to the recording samples one, because since all this stuff has gone on, with lockdowns and everything happening, I did actually want to go out and do it. So I'm going to have to rethink the video, maybe do it with sounds that you just find around the house. So something to think about. Anyway, I'm waffling. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to hit the bell icon if you haven't already to keep up to date with different videos on the channel, and I'll see you all next time.